How's it going, Josh? Thanks for joining me on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for finally having me on.
Is this the first time?
Yeah, no, I haven't been on before.
Yeah. Well, it's because you have so much secret knowledge about our business that, we didn't want to leak out to the world. So today's everybody's lucky day because you've been with us for how long now?
Since the start. I think I was the second hire made at the company. It'll be 5 years in August.
Wow, that's crazy. Freedom driven. And then before that, before that, we were riding around going to appointments to buy houses. So you were part of the flipping business too. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and a lot of good experience too that laid the foundation for everything that was going to eventually come after that.
Yeah. And one thing that comes to mind, and I hesitated sharing it, but do you remember? I wasn't going to do it, but screw it. 8-inch Joe. You remember good old 8-inch Joe that we met on that appointment?
He was a true character.
Yeah.
And not only was he self-proclaimed 8-inch Joe, but he gave us a treasure map and a globe. That was crazy.
Oh, he had mannequins, right, at that house? That was, it was interesting.
Fully dressed mannequins. Yeah. That's.
Anyway.
Yep, we'll never forget him.
But so yeah, you've been to tons of appointments. You were making offers, buying houses, putting them under contract. You've been in the business and then came into this business to help out. And I wanted to have everybody. Why don't you explain what we're doing with this series of podcasts, and then share kind of like your story of what you've been doing inside of Freedom Driven?
Yeah, I mean, so the whole purpose of this series is to go over pay-per-click marketing, which is something that I'm really passionate about, that absolutely drives results and can be an integral part of a lot of people's businesses. Some people know it exists, a lot of people don't though. And so the purpose of this is to kind of lay that foundational work for building a better understanding of what pay-per-click is, how it can impact your business as a real estate investor, and kind of the expectations on what to expect getting into it and getting results out of it.
Yeah, nice. And so how did you get involved in becoming a pay-per-click expert for real estate investors?
It's all your fault.
It's all my fault.
Yeah. I mean, so while we were growing Lead Propeller, we realized that there was a lot more that we could offer as far as what will actually generate results for real estate investors and get them the biggest bang for the buck as quickly as possible. And you had been doing pay-per-click for years, I think, managing your own stuff before that. So we started out with years worth of data on what the first iteration of the campaign was going to look like. And basically I could see that as being like the next big thing where Lead Propeller was headed. Like, this is going to make a huge impact in a lot of people's businesses. So it made sense to accept that challenge and jump into this thing that I was interested in. I've always been interested in marketing, but something new, something that was challenging and different and that was going to have that impact. And so being handed that pre-existing data that you had and being able to look at it, I really figured out that I was like a numbers guy and really into the analysis of stuff like that. So that's
I'm glad that you were, because that was like handing things over for me is pretty tough. Like the control part of, especially financial things that can cost a lot of money and have a big part in generating the revenue for the business. Handing that over and just finding that you took such an interest in it. It wasn't just that, okay, I'll handle this. It was like, oh man, I love this. You were digging into it, reading everything you could, figuring everything out, looking at all the stuff that had been done, and then having your own ideas and then taking it even further than I ever did. And so it was really cool to see that excitement and the fire for your interest in it. And, you basically talking about taking that because you had just touched on it, like Lead Propeller, the discussion was around, okay, websites are great and they're awesome. People need them, especially this day and age for the credibility and trust and generating leads. But we wanted people to have more success, right, with Lead Propeller. So it was like, how could we do that faster? Because SEO does take time. And you had suggested, offering that service, right?
Yeah, I mean, because the whole idea is how can we generate results right now that are going to build into that lasting success later. And you're absolutely right. I mean, SEO is perfect for that long-term strategy for lead generation, because once you get ranked at the top of the page, you're getting the lion's share of those leads coming in. But that's like at minimum a 6 to 8 month commitment to get onto page number one. So what can we provide to customers in the meantime that's going to be extremely beneficial to them, that's ROI focused, that we can attach numbers to all the changes that we're making inside of a system. And Google Ads was that perfect component to just take and plug into that, because everything that's in there, every number has a story tied to it. Every keyword has a search that's tied to it, and all of that stuff ties back into what we're looking for as real estate investors motivation-wise. So having that background of real estate investing and then marrying that with that very analytical approach to managing Google Ads, that was exciting, but it's proven to work for the 3.5 years that we've been doing it now.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And you've gotten to the point where, the management, handling the management of some of the top investors in the country, right?
Yeah. Some of the top investors in the country, dozens that are in big cities, some that are flat out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, like counties that have a population that's the same size as the town that I grew up in, and that was like 2,500 people.
Wow.
But it's successful in all of those markets because of the strategies that we use here that are kind of unique to what it is that we provide with the daily management of accounts and the way that we look at how searches tie back into keywords too.
Yeah. So you're not really using like a one size fits all for everybody.
No, it might start that way because we know after 3.5 years what works and what doesn't work. So we can start everybody with what we know is going to generate leads as quickly as possible, but then we tailor it to their markets for them based off of the results that come in. So it might start out as kind of a one-size-fits-all solution, but it quickly turns itself into each customer's custom solution for that highly motivated lead generation.
Yeah. So what is the typical approach, when somebody's interested in saying, hey, I do want to generate some leads from online because I hear that they're better. Do you want to explain that idea of the better leads that come from PPC and online lead generation?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of the biggest part of it is being the hero in your seller's situation. So let's say you're sending out a direct mail campaign and you've done like a 2,500 or 3,000 letter drop. All of those people that you're sending direct mail to have probably gotten 6 other pieces that same week from your competition that look the same, that all have like similar layouts. So you're just another letter that's sitting in their junk mail pile that they have to call and say, hey, take me off this list. I'm not interested in selling. But when you get online, what you're doing is giving people a way to find you when they have a problem that they need a solution to right now. So all over the country today, people are typing in, get a cash offer for my house, need to sell my house quickly, because that's a problem that they have right now. And those investors that are showing up at the top of page number 1 because of Google Ads, they're the first ones getting clicked on and the first people to make that appointment. But they're the heroes in that situation. They're providing exactly what it is that those people are looking for. They need to be helped out of this tough spot that they're in, and this company is going to be the one to do it. And that is an extremely powerful change from the direct mail approach, or from having to do more of that marketing that relies on a lot of spray and pray. You can be more precise, you can be more surgical with your approach to marketing, but overall, the customers that are reaching out to you are going to be way more likely to do a deal because they're ready right then and there, and you're ready to help them.
All right, nice. Yeah, and have you had, customers come on to have the services done with the Google Ads, tell you about the difference and what kind of leads they've been getting from the service versus their normal, typical direct mail quality leads?
Yeah, absolutely. They talk about that difference, but the numbers also speak for themselves also. So with each account that we manage, we try to get feedback on the leads that are coming in. And when you see that, 1 out of every 5 or 6 leads for a customer who's been doing this for 3 or 4 months is turning into a deal for them,
Nice.
they're generating like 15 or 20 leads a month. The numbers speak for themselves, where with direct mail, or TV ads or radio ads, but more direct mail, they're reaching out to people, and the phone calls that they're getting aren't actual leads. It's just people saying, take me off your list, leaving really angry voicemails, which I've gotten some really good ones over the years. And they're not actual leads, they're not actual communications, where when you have people reaching out to you because they found you online, like that intent and that motivation is really there. And it shows up in a platform like Google Ads, where you can go back and check that information out and work, we can work with the investors that are using our service and our platform to figure that out. So yeah, I mean, investors talk about it, but the numbers totally speak for themselves too.
Nice. Yeah. So it's just incredibly different, how things feel when you're getting people calling you and when you ask them how quickly do you want to sell and they say yesterday, stuff like that, where you're headed over there right away to the property and you're talking to them. And it's the cases where you put it under contract and the person gives you a hug, right? Like they're just like, thank you for helping us through this thing. That's more of the typical type of, it doesn't happen with all of them, but it's that the motivation is already there. They've already accepted the fact that they've got to do something and they're looking for you. So along with this process and doing it, we're going to do several episodes right in this series. Do you want to go through maybe what those episodes are going to be? Because we're going to do some, not all of them are going to be long episodes. They're kind of short to the point. Do you want to cover what those episodes that people can look forward to listening on the podcast are going to be?
Yeah. So we've got them pretty well mapped out. The next one is going to be the what. So what Google Ads are and how they function. After that, we're going to go over why Google Ads is a great choice for both new and experienced investors. The one after that will be when investors should consider using Google Ads to generate leads. So at what point in your business it should look like a good idea or the next logical step for you. And then the how. So some of the best practices and KPIs when it comes to looking at a Google Ads account and some of the more successful methods for upkeeping it and looking at it in total to determine how well it's doing for you. And the whole point is to help to build this educational base and help more investors make better informed decisions on choosing Google Ads and starting to generate those better leads without necessarily having to wait like the better part of a year to get those results.
Yeah, nice. So I've heard, and maybe people out there have also heard, it's kind of like what happened with direct mail, where everybody's using it and then people start saying it's not working. Right, direct mail is not working anymore, and I've started to hear that for a while now about PPC as well. Do you want to address that that statement that people may have heard out there that PPC is not working anymore? It's like it's already, got to the point where too many people are using it, and it's not producing results.
Yeah, totally. So pay-per-click producing results has more to do with effective management than anything else. So I know that our campaigns compared to a lot of other campaigns have a low overlap with keywords. And what that means is that the amount of keywords that our competitors are bidding for that we're bidding for is like, that's a pretty low percentage in total. So when we look at other keywords that other investors are using, or when we compare what's in our account to that percentage overlap, what we see is that there are a lot of people who are spending money on the wrong keywords. When enough people have the wrong keywords in their account and they're not removing them, they're just bidding them up or down, you're going to run into these issues where it looks like pay-per-click isn't working across the board. When you keep your amount of keywords smart, focused on motivation and intent, and you successfully manage an account that is precision-based, that's where pay-per-click will continue to work through these peaks and these valleys of people using it and people stopping from using it. So effective management is a huge part of that. Google Ads can totally work. It can work in every market. It can work right now. It can work 6 months from now. And it's all due to effective management and knowing what keywords, what phrases, what ads all have that return on investment for you in your specific market.
Nice. So it's a matter of how people are approaching it, just like direct mail. So the people saying it's not working, it's like, what are you doing? Because what you're doing is not working. But if you effectively managed it or did something different, then that could work for you. And so you got to be careful when people do blanket statements like that, right? Like, this is not working. Well, it's working for a ton of people that are doing it properly. And really, organic, SEO, and then the Google Ads have generated the majority of the leads for our flipping business for the last several years. And without that, we wouldn't still be operating. I mean, we've done some direct mail, but it wasn't really working out so well. And the focus just went more into this. And so we've always stayed focused on this. And obviously, a lot of our friends in the big masterminds, use the services. And it's kind of been, I'd say, sort of like the best kept secret, right? Like, it's something that we haven't really truly promoted a whole lot at all. There's probably a lot of people listening right now that have never heard that we do that through Lead Propeller. People actually can generate these leads, within a matter of, how quickly are people experiencing getting these great leads when they sign up for the service?
If you're in a larger market, like 1.5 million and up, we normally see the first leads coming in within 14 to 21 days. If you're in like a smaller or more rural market, it takes longer for Google Ads to accumulate information that's useful to us. So that one could take like 30 to 45 days before you get that consistent lead flow coming in. But the big thing is that is not 3 months to get going. That's not 6 to 8 months to get going. That's as close to immediate results with these better leads as you can get.
Yeah, and so it builds pretty quickly after that, right? I mean, you kind of get that snowball rolling. You make the tweaks based on that particular market and what they're experiencing to get them to that point pretty quickly then.
That, and then our experience in the industry really eliminates any kind of huge learning curve. Like, this isn't something that takes 3 or 4 months to ramp up or get started. We're aggressive from the start with our keyword bids and with how we manage, because we know what we're doing, which means that our time to first lead is much lower than a lot of other forms of marketing that people are looking at doing.
Yeah, and there's been algorithm changes, right? Like, Google changes the algorithms, things change. And how are you guys keeping up with that, and what happens when that happens?
Well, because we're Google Partner Certified, they give us a heads up when a lot of those changes roll out. But at the same time, because we manage accounts daily, we identify trends inside of Google Ads that they might be testing and not even talking about. So it's kind of a mixture of daily maintenance and then that heads up from that Google Partners Network that allows us to stay on top of what Google Ads best practices are. And the feedback that we get from investors on like the quality of leads that are coming in also helps us to refine like what the best run times are, what the best keywords overall to continue to run are, or which ones have swapped over to retail-based motivations that we need to pull out for a little while. So there's a nice big feedback loop that helps us to stay as close to the cutting edge as we can.
Yeah, and that's what I loved about like the side benefit of offering the service up to other investors, was the fact that the amount of data that's collected across all these accounts, right? To help all of the accounts, to try like, hey, this is working over here. Let's try this in this other market for this other investor. because our goal is to get the most deals, profitable deals for all of the customers using services, especially for PPC. And, once we started building that up for a lot of these investors, and, it's millions of dollars in ad spend, right? That we're getting data for, that's helping everybody. It's like cumulative effect. So that when some people say, well, I'm going to manage my own AdWords and hire somebody in-house, that's a great idea. And you can make that work if you've got somebody that can understand the industry and the business and the intent of people searching when they have motivation that might want to sell a house. But what you don't get is all of that data from all these other accounts, which has been super, super awesome and has made everything just improve to where, every time we look at these numbers, because we have a meeting every 2 weeks and we report the numbers and we look at all the numbers and see how things are going. So we know that we're always working to improve all the numbers across all the accounts. It's not really a question.
Yep.
Yes, that is true. I'm just excited about it. That's why I wanted to speak about it. But yeah, so what's the process like? I don't know if in the following podcast episodes that you'll be recording, are you going to cover what people should expect when they say, hey, I want to try this out? Or do you want to cover that now?
Yeah, we're actually going to be covering that in some of the mid ones. So like the Why and the When podcasts that are kind of the meat of the whole sandwich. That's going to cover more of the expectations going forward with people who want to get started and then what results they should expect once they get started. Nice. So that'll be covered in one of those future podcast episodes.
Okay, along with, how to figure out, or maybe some ideas on what to expect cost-wise on generating these leads and deals.
Mm-hmm, totally. That's part of that. Once you make the decision to get started, what to expect, there's going to be costs associated that's going to be different with each and every market, depending on how many leads you want to generate or how many leads are even available to be generated in your market. We're going to cover that kind of stuff.
Nice. All right. Well, I don't really have any other questions for this first episode explaining what we're going to be doing here with this series of podcast episodes with you, Josh. Do you have anything else that you want to share with everybody?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions before we get to the next episode, just feel free to email them to josh@leadpropeller.com. That'll go directly to me and I'll get them answered there. You can also tweet them at leadpropeller and I'll see about getting them answered in real time through there also. So we're going to do a couple of different ways to reach out and get your questions answered before we move over to the next one. If we get enough of the same kinds of questions, what I'll look at doing is some kind of live Q&A, either through Facebook Live or just a separate, shorter addition to the podcast series so that we can get everything addressed at once.
Nice. And that way too, if you get those questions in before he's recording these episodes, he can include a lot of the answers to those questions also in those podcast episodes and go into detail and into great depth of answering those for everybody. Mm-hmm. So awesome, man. Thanks again for joining me on the podcast. Yeah,
thanks for having me. I look forward to the next one.
Yeah, so then, well, pretty quickly then. So since this is your first one, and you're going to do, I don't know, what is this, 4 more episodes, then you'll go from first time on to the most amount of episodes for any guest, within like a week or two. So.
Yep, we're smashing records here at Lead Propeller Fuel every day.
That's awesome. And you said Lead Propeller Fuel. A lot of people don't know. You want to explain the name of that? Like maybe a lot of people know what Lead Propeller is, right? Real estate investor websites. But what exactly is the fuel component? And why do we name it that?
Well, so Lead Propeller Fuel just covers all the different marketing services that we offer. So that's Google Ads management, Facebook ads, and then managed SEO also if you want to get your website ranked organically. And the whole naming behind that was, throwing some fuel on your business, generating more leads at a rapid pace and having somebody manage that for you. So you can just add some fuel to it and then increase that overall and have somebody or our company manage that for you so that you can spend more time being a real estate investor and not have to worry about having to learn how to do all this stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's made my life a lot easier since you've taken over all of that, having to not have to manage that account and stay on top of it, and just having you guys do it has made all the difference in the world for us to be able to go on and create, improvements to Lead Propeller, and then also building out Flip Pilot. So thank you so much for everything that you do for Freedom Driven. You've been awesome. And I know a lot of investors out there listening that have already used and are using the services would say the same thing. I get emails all the time. And whenever I go places for mastermind events and things like that, people are always coming up to me, and it's almost like they want to talk to you more than they want to talk to me. And it's like, why isn't Josh here? So that's cool though. But yeah, so you've done amazing things for a lot of people. I want to say thank you publicly for all you've done for the company.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. Well, I'll see you later and on the next episode.
All right.
Bye.